So with the top 2024 NBA free agents now off the board and the 2024 Olympics going on currently, it feels like fans have their eyes on Olympic basketball and NBA executives have their eye on trying to make their team better or worse. I say better or worse because many teams at the bottom of the NBA standings are doing whatever's necessary to worsen their team for the best chance to grab the first overall pick to draft Cooper Flagg in the 2025 draft. Now, of course, while every front office that's looking to tank is going to want to try and be as bad as possible, I will say that ever since the NBA made changes to the draft lottery, where the three worst teams are tied for the best percentage at the first overall pick, the worst team in the league has never gotten the first overall draft pick. And it's not even guaranteed that one of the three worst teams in the league will land the first pick, as the Atlanta Hawks were a play-in team this past season, finishing 10th in the Eastern Conference, yet still landed the first overall pick in the 2024 draft. Of course, though, those struggling teams are going to want to be as bad as possible so they can have the highest draft lottery odds to land the first overall pick. I say that as a report just came out that the Portland Trailblazers want either Anthony Simons or Jeremy Grant traded away by the start of training camp, and also because the Brooklyn Nets have spent most of their time ever since trading Mikal Bridges away looking to move both Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith, with multiple teams emerging as trade destinations for both of them. But it feels like some of the teams that should be trying to get younger or free themselves of their veterans are going in the wrong direction. The San Antonio Spurs added veterans Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes this offseason, and while I'm not sure how much Harrison Barnes will contribute to winning as he's struggled over the last few seasons, I do think the addition of Chris Paul is going to add on a few more wins to the Spurs' regular season record than people think. Chris Paul certainly isn't the player that he used to be, and I think a big reason he was brought in by the Spurs was to mentor Spurs' 2024 first-round draft pick Stephon Castle, as well as help Wemby get some good looks offensively. But Paul and his value, even at 39 years old, are going to win the Spurs a few more games this upcoming season than they would have without him. In 58 games played last season, Paul averaged a positive 1.9 plus-minus rating, which is better than any Spurs player to play in at least 25 games with the team last season. Paul's skill set is clearly waning, but he also averaged the 12th most assists per game in the league this past season, despite coming off the bench. Adding Chris Paul to your team isn't the same boost that it was just 4 years ago, say, but a guy who was nearly top 10 in assists per game is going to at least improve your team a bit. Last season, the Detroit Pistons broke the record for the longest losing streak in NBA history, but dare I say, if they stay healthy now, they might actually be a somewhat competitive basketball team. I don't think their moves thrust them into a play-in or playoff spot just like that, but they added names this offseason that basketball fans are very familiar with, such as Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Malik Beasley. And when they should be trying to get younger and get worse to add Flagg to their roster, they actually corrected one of their biggest issues from last season. The Pistons ranked 27th in offensive efficiency and 26th in three-point shooting percentage among the rest of the league this past season. Now they add Tobias Harris, who's kind of carved out a role as a catch-and-shoot player, as 21% of his total shots taken last season were catch-and-shoot threes. Hardaway Jr., who while only shot 35% from three this past season, did make 2.7 threes per game, and Malik Beasley, who shot a very good 41% from three-point range and made 2.8 threes per game this past season. While Tobias Harris has kind of rightfully gotten clowned for his poor performances as of late, especially in the playoffs, I do think the additions of Malik Beasley and Hardaway Jr., who was a Sixth Man of the Year candidate before his shooting numbers dropped off following the All-Star break, will make the Pistons better than the 14-win team they were this past season, albeit if they stay healthy. The Washington Wizards were another team I thought would be a prime candidate to finish this upcoming season with the worst record in the league, but they actually made some moves this past offseason that might actually improve their team a decent amount. Now, they started the offseason in the complete right direction by landing 3 first-rounders in the 2024 draft, with second overall pick Alex Sarr, who really did struggle in the summer league, but let's just see him play at least a season before we judge, and also Bub Carrington and Keyshawn George. But then, if they really want to tank, they went in the wrong direction by landing Malcolm Brogdon in a trade, as well as signing Saddiq Bey, Rashawn Holmes, and acquired Jonas Valanciunas in a sign-and-trade deal with the Pelicans. The Wizards shot the 6th worst three-point percentage in the NBA last season, and while it's important to note Saddiq Bey suffered a torn ACL this past March, so we don't know how much he'll play this upcoming season, if at all, he was signed to Washington for the purpose of his shooting ability. Now, he did really struggle shooting the ball, only finishing this past season with a three-point percentage of 31.6%, but he did shoot 36.1% the season prior while making 2 3-pointers per game. and the frequency at which he shot catch-and-shoot three-pointers in the 2023-24 season was 40.8%. So if he can return to the court and get back to that shooting percentage from 2 seasons ago, he'll definitely be of some assistance for this Wizards team this season. You can add in the fact that Malcolm Brogdon shot 41% from 3 last season in 39 games played for the Trailblazers. Rookie Bub Carrington made 2 threes per game despite only shooting 32% at University of Pittsburgh last season. And Keyshawn George shot 40% from 3 at University of Miami, and I'd say expect to see plenty of three-point attempts from the Wizards this upcoming season. The other area the Wizards struggled in last season was second chance points given up to their opponents, as they gave up the most in the league, and they also gave up the second most points in the paint per game as well. Now with the additions of second overall pick Alex Sarr and veteran Jonas Valanciunas, I'm not sure how much of an issue getting beat in the paint will be from Washington if they're healthy. And I know some people might clown me a bit and say Valanciunas isn't that great of a defender, or at least as good of a defender as he was in the past at one point, but he did finish with a positive defensive plus-minus rating this past season for the first time in years, and also finished with a positive plus-minus rating overall after not doing so in the 2022-23 season. So I'd say he's just better than what Washington had in the past and will definitely help at least somewhat. Valanciunas played in all 82 games for the Pelicans last season, and the Pelicans gave up the 5th least amount of points in the paint and the 5th least amount of second chance points given up to their opponents. The Wizards scored the 2nd lowest amount of second chance points themselves last season, while Valanciunas has been top 10 in second chance points scored himself in each of the last 5 seasons. So dare I say, the Wizards might be a better team this upcoming season than they'd like to be. In terms of the teams I think are doing it right, I mentioned 2 of them earlier, and I want to start with the Trailblazers. Trading away Brogdon was a great move. As mentioned earlier, he shot 41% from 3, but he also averaged a positive plus-minus rating, and for a team trying to tank, efficiency is the last thing that the Blazers want. In return, they received Deni Avdija, who is a good shooter, as he shot 37% from 3 for the Wizards last season, but he still played inefficient basketball, which of course is what a tanking team like the Blazers are looking for. The Brooklyn Nets are the other team we spoke on earlier, and they have really moved in the right direction for the first time in seemingly a few seasons. Trading Mikal Bridges to the Knicks was a great move for the Nets. The Nets also getting their own first-round picks back from the Rockets that they gave up in the James Harden trade is really important for a team that's held off on doing a rebuild for longer than they should have. I think taking a chance on 2021 10th overall pick Zaire Williams for 2 players that probably wouldn't have even seen the court for the Nets is essentially a no-risk move that has a potential reward to it if Williams can become a solid rotation player. And the Nets taking a chance on Killian Hayes is a chef's kiss move for a team doing whatever is necessary for them to be as bad as possible, with the fact that Hayes at one point was considered the worst player in the entire NBA. The Nets essentially giving Cam Thomas the keys to their offense will be great for his development as a player, and also their tanking chances as he finished with a negative 1.2 plus-minus rating this past season. So while he's my favorite player on that Nets team, he's been pretty inefficient so far in his career. I also want to say I think the Hornets have done everything right this offseason in their attempt to tank. Every one of their major signings or re-signings this offseason played inefficient basketball last season, including Taj Gibson, Seth Curry, Miles Bridges, and Josh Green. Hornets 2024 draft pick Tijan Salon was looked at as a project player from the second he was selected by the Hornets, and while his poor performance in the Summer League may scare some Hornets fans, for a Hornets front office looking to build their team around Brandon Miller and possibly Cooper Flagg, they should be fine with Salon taking as much time as he needs. At the end of the day, though, nobody knows for sure who's going to get the first overall draft pick. Looking at the past 6 NBA drafts since the NBA made the significant draft lottery changes, the Hawks, like mentioned earlier, finished 10th in the East and with the 10th worst record in the league, yet got the first overall pick. From 2021 to 2023, the team with the 2nd worst record got the first overall pick. The Timberwolves were awarded the first pick in the 2020 draft with the 3rd worst record in the NBA. And in 2019, the Pelicans finished the 18-19 season with the 8th worst record, yet still landed the first overall draft pick. I do believe the Portland Trailblazers have the best odds to finish with the worst record in the league, but as just shown, that doesn't guarantee a single thing. I can easily see a team like the Wizards, Spurs, or Pistons landing the first pick, even despite them making some roster changes that should actually improve their quality of play. But after the Hawks made the play-in tournament, yet still landed the first overall pick in this year's draft, don't be surprised if a team like the Lakers or Warriors make the play-in tournament but don't qualify for one of the last 2 playoff spots, and we have either LeBron and Cooper Flagg pick and rolls or Steph Curry and Cooper Flagg pick and rolls that'll be filling up our social media feeds in 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of a different video, just kind of breaking down and discussing the stats and stuff behind who's going to finish with the worst record in the league. But I want to know, though, what you guys think about Cooper Flagg, the offseason moves made by any team set the tank, or anything relating to the NBA down below in the comment section. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, then make sure to give it a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I am out. Peace.